Well, we have made it to Jonesboro. I picked up some maps from the local forestry service. And here we have Sunshine and Vixie. That handsome fellow, of course. It's Madison.
Don't forget the Dixie barbecue sign.
Yeah.
We're here at a first
Where
restaurant.
the sheriff is eating. So it must be good.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Any words of wisdom before we part?
You don't have to get any of the rest of that. They actually do have real wood back there that look like they smoked
they do.
there.
So it is real.
All right, we're gonna check it out.
Had lunch in Jonesboro at Dixie Barbecue. Yummy. They had plenty of wood there. The building, as we were inside, seemed like a miniature. Had really short windows and a low ceiling and low tables. And as we went inside, everyone stopped and he looked at us as if we were pork aliens. Barbecue sandwich was unique. Thin sliced pork and very light colored sauce. Very unusual. It seemed to me like it had a hint of some sort of fruity flavor in the sauce, but I'm not really sure. The woman who knew the recipe, she did not intend on giving us any little hints of what it had inside the delectable barbecue sauce. But I personally like the flavor. The bathroom on the other side of the kitchen, yes, was very close to the food area. And it was hilariously indescribable. There is a picture that's related to this, and I don't think the picture would even do it justice. It's just kind of one of those things where you had to be there. Forever Sweet. Aww. That was the name of our cute little adorable cabin. And we even have a picture of it. So if you ever want to go, you'll know exactly what the front of the cabin looks like. And trust me, you will want to go.
And the saga continues. We have just arrived at our little cabin. And coming out of the bathroom door is Miss Vixie.
Hey!
Here's Sunshine. You know, Sunshine gets its name, of course, because it's an endless font of energy and immense light. I'm not quite so sure she's living up to her moniker at the moment. And as you can see out the door, we've got a little lake out there. It's misty right now. And we got Vixie's favorite part, the cows across the lake there. Her being a cow fan. And we're about to go, if I can get these people off their bahonkuses, out to do some hiking. Over now.
So Ferncliff State Park, doesn't that sound wonderful in and of itself? Ferncliff State Park. I loved it. We went to the state park after we unloaded our stuff at the adorable cabin with a hot tub.
Walking through the woods, I'm thinking about how green and beautiful and lush it all was for January, even as we hiked through the quote-unquote skeletons of the woods. White trees, black limbs, few leaves, save for the papery ones, or dead brown ones, hanging on the stems, as if they're nearly ready to blow off, but just can't let go yet. The last semblances of the papery bones of summer that don't want to be forgotten.
Here we are, two intrepid mountain climbers. And we are on top of Round Bluff. Trail winds around the bottom of this thing. It's covered with moisture and mud, wild animals and snakes, all poisonous varieties. But
Lichen and fern and moss.
we didn't let it deter us. No sirree.
The trail was muddy, of course, because it had been raining most of the day. And the neatest thing was how intensely green the ferns were. I mean, here we are in the middle of January, and the ferns abounded with green. It was quite beautiful. Madison was thrilled. You would think that he had died and gone to fern heaven. We'll never see him like this ever again, or like that ever again. We can only hope that he can, I don't know, somehow find another fern home in heaven somewhere. So a heaven of ferns in the middle of winter.
These woods, however, today were alive with color in January and winter. Multiple layers of green, sage and silver, Kelly soft green, woodsy green, even neon, almost neon green moss, covering rocks, lush and thick, prosperous and succulent. In January, it was amazing. Juxtaposed to dried and dead brown leaves, dead limbs, and trees creaking in the wind. So much looking dead and lost to the season, yet alive.
We're still on the Round Bluff Trail.
People like pile rocks, but have you ever seen where they pile them up real tall and they balance them? Although I don't really think that's a real one. I think
Y'all should start collecting a rock from your travels.
I actually do. I got a rock in my back right now. In my back seat. It's a shell. It's what if you can eat this, Madison?
You what?
This shit, this fungus.
Shit.
Look.
I don't recognize it, so
I like the way it feels.
I remember the sounds, geese, running water, animals, and the scents. Green, dirt, rocks, acorns, leaves, misty rain, skunk, dried wood, fungus, fresh green. I remember the feel, the breeze, the mist, raindrops, rock, moss, lichen, walking stick in my hand, slippery rocks beneath my boots, my heart beating from the exertion of the climb. Humidity in my hair, the cool in my fingers, the life in myself, a part of life, as created eons ago. And here I meander, taking it in, relishing, savoring, trying to find myself in the midst.
And here we are, further along Round Bluff Trail. They are still persevering. They haven't let the wilds take them down yet, the intrepid hikers. And here we find a rather impressive assortment of puffballs. And they're unusual in that they are growing on a tree, much like bracket fungus would. All the way up. And we've been hiking along this trail, as you can see, that big bluff towering above us the whole way, covered in luminescent green sphagnum moss, an assortment of ferns, same species. We'll identify it when we get back, but I'm suspecting it's either a wood fern or maybe a Roberts fern. The bluffs are chalky ahead of us, I don't know why.
In these experiences, I always tried to discover God. What do you want? What should I do? How can I repay you? Honor you? What have we done to earn this beauty which we people could never reproduce? All we can do is to experience it through you, the creation. And even as many of us destroy it daily, just as many of us experience it daily and love what we have in front of us. Some of us cannot continue without this loveliness. It is the only place we see you. It is our sanctuary, our divine connection.
Then we went to the main waterfall trail, which they called the main waterfall trail. And it had a moderate amount of water in it. It was falling into a smallish pool. Maddie said the height was about 100 feet, which isn't too shabby for a waterfall in that particular region of the country, in the middle of nowhere, that is, in southern Illinois. We all ended up walking up to an array of rocks. Boulders, not quite to where the waterfall originated. Then we went on to Hawks Cave from there. I guess we were covering a lot of territory in a half a day's time. I was very impressed with ourselves and I was having so much fun.
Here we are. This is called, what's this called? Big Rocky Cliff? What's the name of this waterfall? Big Rocky Hollow. As you can see, it's a pretty impressive waterfall. The rain was enough that we did have some water flowing down. And it's a delicate waterfall, but very attractive. And all around us, we have an assortment of rocks. All the way around. And there we have Sunshine's practicing her panoramic photography. And we are back to the waterfall. Very beautiful place.
Well, onto Hawks Cave, the long rock shelter where you could walk the length without ducking your head. We made it back to the van just before dark, but it wasn't easy. We stopped by a dollar store, which was fun. And we got some supplies and returned to our cozy little cabin where Sunshine, who is designated the cook of all cooks, prepared a yummy dinner. And it was so nice to have somebody prepare a dinner when you didn't expect it. We had steak, salad, and rice. Maddie and Sunshine went to the hot tub after that, and they said it was wonderful. It was great. Of course, the hot tub was outside, and it was probably, 20-something degrees, a little chilly. They tried to encourage me to join them, but I didn't want to feel any more cold for the day because I'd gotten chilled. We eventually hit our comfy beds, and before returning, we discussed a wake-up time and general plan for Saturday. The air temp for the day was in the 40s, so that was warm, and it was a good temp for walking and exploring. The blue skies were there, but they were mixed with fluffy clouds. An awesome day with two really fun people.
And day 2 begins. Here the intrepid hikers are getting their gear ready for the ascent up Mount Everest or whatever particular route we decide to take on this particular day. You can hear the winds howling outside as the snows are hurled against the side of the cabin.
The wind did the howling.
That was very good.
She's putting on 3 layers of socks.
I only have one pair of socks, you guys.
I'll put some in my bag.
Here's Sunshine's brand new mid-top boots, which she rated a 9 in their first full day of service yesterday. And with her stylish and matching pink socks to go with them.
They're wool, I might add.
And there's the frigid tundra out the window. Over and out.
Well, it's another great day, greater than most, because A, I'm not in Louisville, and B, I'm on an adventure. And we had breakfast and coffee, yummy. It was wonderful. Our first stop was to Alto Pass, to the winery there. It was a really nice building. The staff, the woman was very friendly, and the wine was good. And we bought 3 bottles of it. And we also had a little tasting too, which was yummy.
Crock pot, and then put it in a crock pot with hot salsa and peach preserves.
Really? That
Yes.
does sound good.
And cook it slow. Hot salsa and peach preserves, and you get spicy and tomatoey
sweet and spicy.
sweet. It is delicious. My kids absolutely love it. Yeah.
I mean, I would never think so.
Spice or salt. She had the recipe. It was really, it was great. It was delicious, and it's so easy. Those 3 things. That's all you want. Salt and pepper.
Easy peasy.
Salt and pepper. Oh, just like you would a small one.
Like a regular roast.
Yeah,
A few hours,
most of
probably
the
like
day,
4 hours.
half a day. It's
does
delicious,
sound really
and then you just
good.
break it apart, and it's so good. It's
To LaRue Pine Bluffs, on the way there, Sunshine found a bald eagle sitting low on a branch. Oh my God. I mean, that just doesn't happen out in the wild, hardly ever. I can't even imagine. I've never even heard of somebody saying they found a bald eagle sitting low on a branch and was spotted. It was just very unique, and we were very fortunate. And it flew away. It was quite intense in size, and that was my favorite event of the day, was to see that bald eagle.
Today was pleasant, enjoyable, and surprising. I expected to be freezing and miserable most of the day, frankly. But as it turned out, we spent some time in the car, traveling, and sometimes hiking. The weather was forecasted to be pretty cold. However, the sun shone enough and we were dressed warmly enough that it was a very nice day.
Here we are at Pine Hills, LaRue. Fellow photographer. These woods we just spotted a little ways back up there, just a few measly feet away from us, was a bald eagle. And then we have these amazing bluffs that we're heading up toward. And I think this area to the right is called LaRue Swamp. And there's our other participant still chowing down, sitting on a bahonkus, not getting out and enjoying nature, but
I'm the one that's all spotted out. Look you.
she's the one that wants to go spend all day at a wine tasting instead of hiking with us, so we're dragging her along, tooth and nail.
My favorite part was Inspiration Point, a cliff top point very high up on a bluff. It was invigorating and intimidating all at the same time. So high. The hike was good too.
The view you see before you is from the top of LaRue Swamp Pine Hills. It's called Inspiration Point. It's been about 3 days since base camp and about 2.5 since the blizzard hit us. We managed to persevere. We lost, of our original number of 6, we're down to 3 intrepid travelers. Sunshine Haagen-Dazs, of course. Can't put her down, even if she won't get out of the front seat. Vixie Mohan and we're about to walk out to a little spur. I think it's technically Inspiration Point. You kind of see it through the branches a little bit, but not really. Over now.
We walked up to Inspiration Point where Madison and Sunshine were definitely inspired. Maddie and Sunshine got really great videos up there. As for me, guess I chickened out due to my fear of heights. Oh well, but I still had fun watching them and sitting and relaxing and enjoying myself.
Yes, believe it or not, that is intrepid explorer Vixie Mohan climbing down the steepest face of Everest with nothing but her boots and a walking stick. And she fall off vertigo and fear of heights, and now we're getting closer to our coveted goal, Inspiration Point.
This is cool.
Now the highest point in the Eastern Hemisphere, Pine Hills. One of the few survivors. You can't see her face real well, but Sunshine herself. And there is all eternity behind her.
Taking a video of me taking a video. How high up do you think we are? Be a hard fall, wouldn't it? Yeah, you'd feel it going down for just a minute. A few seconds. Oh wait, I don't think I'm on video. I don't want to be on video, do I? I don't know though, that's kind of cool. It's just I have to sit. I can't even, oh my gosh, I can't even begin to look down. Woo! Oh my God. It's weird. I can't look. Okay. Taking a video of me taking a video. How high up do you think we are?
A couple hundred feet.
Be a hard fall, wouldn't it?
You wouldn't even feel it.
Yeah, well, you'd feel it going down for just a minute. Second.
You're awfully close to the edge here. I hope a gust of wind doesn't blow you over.
Oh, dang away!
Natural Bridge. That's the bridge there.
The next stop, we went to a place called Pomona Natural Bridge. And it was a nice small natural bridge, nothing like the one in Slade, Kentucky, but nevertheless it was inspiring. It was out in the middle of just nowhere. And it was very unique and pretty, even in the middle of the winter. It was secluded, of course, by woods with no leaves, and it seemed like it would never end. Sunshine met something new, and her name was Holly. And Holly was a puppy, a rescue, who was with her new family. I couldn't make it up to pet Holly, but I really wanted to steal her, but I knew that we wouldn't have any way to take care of her, and Madison would refuse the fact that I wanted to steal somebody else's dog.
Our next stop in our continuing saga is the Pomona Natural Bridge. As you can see, it's a pretty good sized bridge. And they're the intrepid explorers, so fascinated by this wonder of nature that they have reverted to talking about puppies.
9-week-old puppies.
So, Sunshine, you can be first.
Oh.
Tell us a line or two about your impressions of this majestic wonder.
It's
without using the word majestic.
Majestic and wonderful. I was gonna say.
Oh.
It's awesome. It's amazing. I'm flabbergasted. I'm speechless. I don't have the words.
All right,
I really don't have the words because my mouth is frozen and I sound like I'm drunk when I speak. So
No, what?
All right, Vix.
I can't move my
Numbness.
lips. Y'all say we're not cold, and I'm saying
All right, Vix. Let's have it.
Very unique natural bridge right in this part of the country, in southern Illinois. It's nothing like a really huge natural bridge in Slade, Kentucky, but it certainly is worth coming out here when it's 4 degrees late in the afternoon when your toes are frozen and seeing the wonder of it all.
that is not fair. You rehearsed that this morning. I can tell. You wrote that last night. You've been practicing it all the way here. You suck. That was not impromptu.
Oh,
Document that. I said that.
no, remember we're a team, me and you.
Okay, you got a point.
Oh, look, I got a point, Maddie. Madison, be careful because one of those big chunks of ice might fall down on your head, and then we won't have a driver.
Which could bode well for my vehicle,
Yeah, that's
Jeez.
absolutely right.
considering how
All
I'm
right.
going lately.
This particular chapter of our saga has now come to an end with
He didn't like this chapter.
smart acidness getting out of control. So that's what happens.
On to the Little Grand Canyon. Well, we couldn't complete it all due to the flooding, but we saw a significant amount of it and got a good flavor of what it might be like. The canyon bottom was really nice. Of course, it was very wet and slick, and it reminded me a lot of various aspects of the Red River Gorge.
And here we are at our next stop on our tour of nature's finest. Covering our rear in case the engines attack us from behind is Vixie Mohan.
Brush off the Mother Nature's toilet seat.
Here is Sunshine Haagen-Dazs, still holding tight, wearing her lovely Pate accoutrement. And we are looking out over the Mississippi floodplain and the opening of the Little Grand Canyon. You can see the bluffs. Our concern at this point is if you look down into the floor of the canyon, there is agua galore. So we're not sure how far we'll be able to get, but we're going to give it the old college try. Beautiful view. Although this isn't a very scary angle like it was before.
I also enjoyed the Little Grand Canyon, the actual canyon part. It was another lovely, lush, green, mossy, wet, rocky, fairy family land with honeycomb erosion and natural caves. We just didn't have enough daylight in which to explore it.
Now we continue our journey. Yes, we still have the two explorers still surviving the rigors of our adventure trek. We are down in the bowels of the Little Grand Canyon. Its walls towering above us as we looming its shadow down upon us. A couple of our party are starting to get worried about fading light and getting lost in the canyons, never to be seen again. Other members are contesting that we have sufficient time and to trust those of us with more experience. And we are scurrying back to the car along the ridge hike after going down into the bowels of the canyon. The sun is setting. Dark might hit us before we get back. But are we worried? Do I look worried? No. Does she look worried? I think she looks a little worried. So I better say over and out.
After we came out of the Little Grand Canyon, as we called it, we got into the van and warmed our bones for just a very few minutes, and then Sunshine came up with a wonderful idea of opening up a bottle of Rocco Red. And we got Rocco Red at Alto Vineyards, by the way, and they're an Australian-owned vineyard. And we nibbled on cheese curds that we got at the vineyard as well. I could not have thought of anything better to end a nice hike, but to have a nice bottle of wine and cheese curds on the way out in the dark and driving. It was just too much fun. And we probably all got a little tipsy. I know I did. It was just so much fun. Then off to Tres Hombres. It was kind of a mediocre Hispanic restaurant, but I don't know about everybody else, but I was starving. So it was filling, and the chips and salsa were really good. And then we had to look forward to our cozy cabin. And then on to the hot tub I went, and oh, it was great. I got so hot in the tub, and the cold air felt so awesome. I can't explain that feeling. I'll never forget that feeling, but it was just neat, to say the least. Then to bed, in that nice little comfortable bed. It was great.
But tonight, after snacking on cheese, curds, and wine in the car, and a mediocre Mexican meal, and a hot tub, I'm tired and don't feel like writing much.
It would be a lot of fun. It'd be a blast.
Yeah. You could bring someone like Michael.
Well, fair viewers,
I'm afraid I'm
if you can tell, we're now about to depart, leaving the cabin for the last time on our final chapter in our adventure.
And thank God I got my entry done.
Vixie was assiduous in her efforts to finally write paragraphs down. And it's balmy 23 degrees outside. And we're gonna go party in the outdoors. Yee-hee. Why,
Snotting and slobbering.
may you ask, am I taking the
It's
time
freezing.
to capture this moment? Here's why.
Here's why.
Because we have pulled into Giant City. It's 25 degrees outside or so.
It's snowing.
It's a little bit of snow coming down.
Hiking in the snow. 'Cause everybody knows Sunshine likes the
Sunshine likes it. So the anticipation is you can feel it in the air.
It's palpable.
You can feel the anticipation.
There's no oxygen. It's too cold.
Okay, it was freezing. I really did try to keep and have an open mind. Really, I did. At first, I was just kidding around about it being too cold and the first short hike uphill to the quote-unquote pile of rocks. Okay, 1,500-year-old cultural human remains. That is significant. It's difficult to understand why they hauled them up there and created a wall. I'm going with the notion that perhaps they could more easily go from one bluff to the other, but I'm not really convinced that makes much sense to me either.
Among the mysteries of nature that we're encountering, occasionally we encounter cultural mysteries. How does that creature we're looking at survive in this world? No, that's not the one I'm talking about here. I'm talking about this wall of rocks. Goes all the way up the hill, down the other side. It's called a stone fort, but the sign says they don't think it was actually a fort. So why would a wall exist way on top of this bluff? Some of these rocks are big. It would have taken a lot of man hours to construct it. The only possible explanation is that it had spiritual significance. That they would, recanting prayers, walk blindfolded along the top of the wall, and if they didn't fall off, then their prayers would come true. That's my surmise.
That's what I'm not doing right when I pray.
Walking along the wall.
Here's the beautiful scenery around us. We're in Giant City Park.
Our first hiking stop was Stone Fort Trail. And it was a little nippy out that morning. I'd say it was probably in the low 20s, but we were bundled up, and Sunshine was an incredible trooper. She, you know, for somebody to go out in the bitter cold and be a good sport about it is pretty amazing, and that's what she was. It was an uphill, approximately a half a mile round trip, and at the top of the hill was this stone wall, and the prehistoric people, had to somehow get these stones up to the top of this hill. Archaeologists aren't sure of the reason of the intensive, laborious efforts in this regard. It was a nice warm-up in terms of exercise, and I remember it was really kind of serene for a while. I remember saying to Sunshine, "Listen, it's so quiet, there's no noise." And I remember kind of glancing at her, and it was dead quiet, and it seemed spiritual for a few moments.
On the second hike, I started becoming quite cold, especially my fingers, face, and toes. I experienced something called dead finger. One or several digits turned white, numb, and tingly, sort of like when your fingers get really cold, then you put them into warm water too quickly and they burn. Ouch. And it makes it hard to grip things like a walking stick. This was the longest trail. There were some very impressive boulders, however, and still quite a lot of colorful fern and moss.
The Trillium Trail was a very nice 2-mile hike around a base of bluffs, and it expanded upward along a ridge. The air temp was pretty damn cold. It was in the lower 20s, and I remember there were wind gusts up there on that ridge that were quite biting. Sunshine, she persevered. Don't ask me how. I would have not had that good of a spirit. I'd have been much more crabbier. She wasn't. She persevered through the cold. And on from the Trillium Trail, we descended the Trillium Trail and we went into this cave. Yeah, we went into this cave. We found this little cave, and we could actually walk through the cave, and it became dark, and there were no bats in there, but it was kind of fun to find that cave, and it was right at the end of the trail. And then there, not too far from that, there was this little vortex of wind that ran up this little tunnel of rock that was close to each other. And Sunshine walked up to the top of that, and she got some good video of that. I remember that quite well. And it was nippy. It reminded me of what New York City would be walking in between those buildings and the wind coming flying through there.
I have the idea of writing a young girl's story about fern fairies who live in the honeycomb erosion crevices of sandstone among the moss and the fern. So as I hiked this weekend, I daydreamed about my fern family land. Today, that was more challenging because I was so cold.
Sadly, our first hike of the day in Giant City is coming to an end. Vixie and Sunshine are going down the trail pretty quickly. They're ready to get back to the car. But it's worth pointing out that when you hike at this time of year, some things that you don't normally see that are a little bit magical. And I'm not talking about just icicles. For example, look at this. This is made of ice. It's a leaf. I don't know how these things form. They're not like frozen pieces of leaf. They are just little pieces of snow. Frozen ice that look like they're like ribbon candy or something. And they're all in the leaves. Interesting. We're almost at the van at the end of our first hike at Giant City, and Vixie has discovered this little area we can walk into. I'm walking into it for the first time, and there they are, exploring a little cave that Fatty Patty's about to get her ass stuck in.
Nothing.
Something about Fatty Patty.
Stop it, you're making my camera shake.
There's a bird's nest.
So we're inside this kind of half cave, and then inside the half cave is a real cave.
Look at the bird's nest.
And there's a bird's nest right there. Can't see it that well.
But there.
Low levels of light.
Yeah, maybe. Here's some of that moss. See it?
I did that silvery kind of.
Yeah, like you got. A little breeze up this crevice.
Can you believe that he did not get a picture of us in the hot tub last night?
No, I can't believe it. What
And
happened?
then he presses the button thinking he's turning it off, and he's just starting a video.
Oh.
Here you see
He had it on.
the last known footage of Vixie and Sunshine as they enter the bowels of the mountain through these crevices.
He had it on. But it was,
It's freezing cold out, 2 degrees, maybe 3 degrees, something along those lines.
So it just videotaped us.
And
this
they wandered in there. We may have gotten stuck, but I like to imagine that they're still exploring the interior of the mountain,
Oh my God.
wandering around, maybe trying to find their way out. Maybe one day we'll see them again. Farewell, Vixie and Sunshine.
You in there, why don't you eat them all?
You want to hand me that your wrapper?
It surprised all of us, including the Rangers and the helicopter rescue team, when we discovered, guess who? Sunshine and Vixie. They somehow made it out of the bowels of the mountain, and believe it or not, we're eager to take one more hike. This will be our last hike of the whole trip, the whole trek, the whole adventure.
Lisa's so disappointed that it's the
Lisa.
last one.
Sunshine is been giving me any kind of argument she could think of to stay longer. She has found her true element. She wants to go home now and open up a hiking store. Vixie's enjoying it too, and she doesn't want to leave it either. But yeah,
We all have to get back to reality, right?
I'm being a big wimp about it, and I want to go home. So, all right, so there it is behind those
Over and out.
play apparatus for children over there, and we're gonna see what mysteries lurk in the woods for us on this last hike. If we never make it back and someone finds his phone,
Tell everybody we love them.
tell everybody we love them. Over and out.
I was happy to get back into the van, and Madison had to use all of his persuasive prowess to convince me to participate in one more hike, Giant City Nature Trail. I was reluctant, but he promised that it would be our last, and it was only 1 mile. I did acquiesce, however. I was not happy, nor gracious in the least. Vixie gave me her ski gloves, but they were a bit tight and proved to be worse than Madison's, which I had borrowed on the previous hike, hoping to better insulate my fingers. I must say this was the most impressive sight of the day, however. Giant City is amazing, with its mammoth sheer walls creating the impression of streets and buildings. I was dismayed, though, by all of the graffiti, mostly in the form of names, initials, and trivial messages carved, quite neatly, I might add, into the huge stones. One was from the 1800s, so I suppose that makes it a bit more valuable. Still, I was too uncomfortable to enjoy the city much, so I quickly strolled back to the van as soon as Madison gave me the key and the okay.
We went to the Giant City Nature Trail, and I think this is one of the more popular trails. It's not long, but it has some incredible rock formations that are along this trail. It was a 1 mile hike in which part of the walk we meandered through large rock walls and boulders. And you know, all in all, that this day was really a great group of hikes. You know, there was something surreal about the rocks at the Giant City Nature Trail because they were so huge and massive, and you can kind of meander through them like this maze, and it was just pretty incredible. You'll have to go.
Here we are, the Giant City Park. And there's Vixie up on top of a mountain.
It probably fell off from the cold.
Way up on the top of one of the tallest peaks in the area. She's been climbing up for hours, but she looks really spry, doesn't she? Here we are winding down our hike to Giant City, and through the little portal you see sunshine. The trail is just an absolute delight to her. She didn't stop smiling the whole trip. And this is called balanced rock. As you can see, it's big, it's heavy, and it's balanced.
And guess who rescued them?
Here we are,
Japanese.
winding up
During World War II. So
our
they
hike
took them as POWs. And apparently they were
at
really
Giant
bad.
City.
Oh, wow. It's worth watching. The movie is.
This is a tragic thing
Yeah.
to document, but I do this for posterity's sake. These are two highly disappointed faces that you're looking at. Look at this. It's a blind disappointment. We're only steps away from the car, and the hike is over.
Delete it.
The trip is over. See, this is not only 20-degree weather. This is 20-degree weather that we drove 4 hours to walk in. So
And
it's
it's
really
snowing,
to be
and don't
appreciated.
forget that the wind is blowing.
His
And your nose is nothing.
I was getting ready to say his.
To a tragic accident. She walked up into the bowels of the earth, never to be seen again. It's just Vixie and yours truly. It's tragic, but we survived the adventure. We survived the hardships, the cold, the frostbite, the blizzards. Now, after all this, we finally returned to get inside Sunshine! You made it!
Here I am.
You've been sitting on your warm ass.
You reincarnated as she's reincarnated as
We
herself.
thought you lost you in the bowels of the mountain.
No.
We thought you were freezing
I'm
to
just
death.
sitting here on my warmed up seats. What is
You look so warm.
very warm.
Is it really you? It's real. It's real.
So you can actually move your face now.
Started.
Farewell, nature. Till we meet again.
We drove to a small group of little stores where I was able to get some coffee, and I met these two dogs that were hanging out, one being a black lab, the other being some sort of mixture of a mutt that was older. And I really wanted to take the black lab home with me, but I did not. They were friendly, and they were looking for something to eat, probably to keep themselves warm. Madison and Sunshine stayed in the van while I went in to get some coffee, and then as I got into the van, we had one last stop to make before we headed back to the Ville.
After that, we went to a winery where I drank a couple of too many glasses of wine, much to Madison's chagrin, I think. Vixie and I were getting a bit peckish by then, so it was nice to unwind and laugh, which we did a lot of this weekend. I in particular get tickled quite often and find it almost impossible not to giggle until my eyes water. But I think everyone should do that every day.
We only thought the adventure was over. We are now at Owl Creek Winery on the Shawnee Wine Trail. We're waiting on a couple sandwiches. Vixie and Sunshine have been a little peckish.
Yeah, I tried. That was the second one I tried.
He was calling us persnickety.
Madison has not been peckish. She's been as usual, debonair, cheerful self.
The Owl Creek Winery, where each of us had our own taste experiences. All three of us had our own 5 little glasses of wine tasting, each individually. So after my 5th one, I was pretty kind of tipsy by then, and Madison declared that Sunshine and I were each a little persnickety at that point. He guessed that it might be because we were hungry. I just wasn't real sure. I think he was a persnickety one, and he just didn't realize it. Anyway, it was really kind of funny, the whole thing. So we ordered lunch there, and we all shared what we had to eat, and it was actually pretty good. And we also shared what we ate with our Bald Knob bottle of wine, which was really quite good too. It was time for us to hit the road late in the afternoon back to Louisville. And all in all, I had this wonderful time with 2 very nice people. And I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to get to know Sunshine better.